They've been lying to you. Not Wall Street, not your financial advisor. Everyone. 2 million saved, minimum, to retire with any dignity. That if you're sitting on $50,000 instead of $500,000, your retirement is already over before it started. That you blew it, and now you work until you die. 2 million is a number built entirely around retiring in the United States. It assumes American rent, American healthcare, American grocery stores, American car payments. It assumes you're going to keep living the same expensive life in the same expensive country until you stop breathing. That's the only version of retirement they've sold you. And an enormous number of Americans bought it because nobody gave them an alternative. Right now, there are roughly 56 million Americans between the ages of 55 and 75 who have less than $100,000 saved for retirement. 56 million people. That's not a fringe group. That's not people who made catastrophic mistakes. That's people who raised kids, lost jobs, survived medical bills, went through divorces, and still showed up every day. And the financial media has collectively decided they don't deserve a real answer. This video is that answer. We found 8 countries, not vague, affordable destinations. 8 specific, livable, real places with documented visa programs, real cost of living numbers, and functioning expat communities, where $50,000 in savings plus a small, modest income stream is enough. Where you can legally retire, where you can stop working, and where you will live better than you're living right now. Counting down 8 to 1. Stay until number 1. That's the country where $50,000 in the bank plus $800 a month actually makes you comfortable. It's not where you think. We didn't build this list from travel blogs and wishful thinking. We cross-referenced Numbeo's cost of living database, the most comprehensive in the world, with International Living's annual retirement index, State Department advisories, first-hand expat community forums on Reddit and Facebook with tens of thousands of active members, official government visa program documentation, and healthcare quality data from the WHO and private insurance networks. Every dollar figure you're about to hear is grounded in what real retirees are actually spending right now in 2026. Both sides, the opportunity and the catch. Because you deserve the full picture, not a sales pitch. Say that name slowly. Bosnia and Herzegovina. Most Americans hear that name and think war. Specifically the 1990s conflict that made international headlines for years. And that history is real. It happened. But here's what's also real. That was over 30 years ago, and the Bosnia you'd be moving to in 2026 is one of the most underpriced, underrated retirement destinations in all of Europe. Not Eastern Europe, Europe. Sarajevo, the capital, is a city of layered history so dense it almost defies description. Ottoman mosques and Austro-Hungarian architecture within walking distance of each other, cafes built into 16th century bazaars, a mountain range rising directly behind the city that gives it a dramatic, almost cinematic quality. The country sits in the Western Balkans, landlocked, bordered by Croatia, Serbia, and Montenegro, with a climate that gives you actual seasons, hot summers and real winters, without the extremes of Central Europe. English is widely spoken among younger Bosnians and in business settings, especially in Sarajevo. You won't find it on every street sign, but you will find it when you need it. In hospitals, banks, real estate offices, and every restaurant that sees tourist traffic. This is a place where a moderate investment in a few basic Bosnian phrases will take you a very long way. Now, the number that stopped us when we first saw it, a single retiree in Sarajevo can live comfortably on $700 to $1,000 a month. Not survive, live. A furnished one-bedroom apartment in a safe central neighborhood runs $250 to $400. Groceries for the week come in around $30 to $40. A full sit-down meal with a drink costs $5 to $8. A coffee at a proper Sarajevo cafe, famous for their coffee culture, which they inherited from the Ottomans, costs less than $1. Bosnia doesn't have a purpose-built retirement visa like some countries on this list, but it does offer a temporary residence permit that's renewable annually and, after 5 years, a path to permanent residency. The income requirement is modest, roughly $800 to $1,000 per month in demonstrable income, which can include Social Security, a small pension, rental income, or dividends from savings. With $50,000 invested, conservatively yielding 4% to 5%, that's $166 to $208 per month from your nest egg alone. Pair that with even a partial Social Security check, and you're over the threshold. Healthcare is functional and inexpensive, though not at the level of Western Europe. Private clinics in Sarajevo have English-speaking doctors, and a consultation costs $20 to $40. International health insurance covering Bosnia runs roughly $100 to $150 a month for someone in their 60s, affordable and non-negotiable. The catches. Bosnia's political system is genuinely complicated. It runs on a power-sharing agreement between 3 ethnic groups, and bureaucracy can be slow and frustrating. Infrastructure outside Sarajevo drops off noticeably. The language barrier is real in rural areas. And winters in the mountains are serious. Sarajevo hosted the 1984 Winter Olympics for a reason. But for the retiree who wants European character, real history, safety, and an honest cost of living that makes $700 a month feel like plenty, Bosnia is not a compromise. It's a discovery. If you've never considered Albania, you're not alone. And that's almost entirely the point. Albania sits on the Adriatic coast of southeastern Europe, tucked between Montenegro to the north and Greece to the south, with a western shoreline of beaches, some of them genuinely stunning, with clear blue water and white stone that most of the world hasn't found yet. That's changing fast, which is exactly why this window matters. English is spoken widely among anyone under 50. And in coastal towns and cities, you'll almost never need anything else. The country shifted dramatically toward the West after the fall of communism in 1991, and there's a warmth and openness toward Americans that you feel immediately. Here's the headline number. Albania is now one of the cheapest countries to live in on the entire European continent. A furnished one-bedroom apartment in Tirana, the capital, a city of genuine coffee culture, nightlife, and restaurants, runs $250 to $400 a month. In Saranda on the southern coast, with views of the Greek island of Corfu literally across the water, the same apartment runs $300 to $500. Weekly groceries cost $25 to $40. A restaurant meal, $4 to $7. Total monthly budget for a single retiree living well, $800 to $1,100. Albania introduced a digital nomad visa in recent years, and long-term residency for retirees is accessible through the standard permit process with demonstrated income, requirements that sit comfortably within reach of someone with $50,000 saved and even a small income stream. The government has been actively courting foreign investment and foreign residents, and the process, while imperfect, is navigable. Healthcare in Tirana has improved substantially, with private clinics offering solid care at very low costs. A specialist visit runs $20 to $35. For anything serious, Greece and its EU standard healthcare are a short flight or a 45-minute ferry ride from the southern coast. The catches. Albania is not yet a polished expat destination. Infrastructure in rural areas is rough. The road system outside major cities is genuinely challenging. Bureaucracy is inconsistent and requires patience. Petty crime in Tirana requires the same common sense as any capital city. And the country is developing fast. Prices are rising in the coastal areas, so the floor you're seeing today is not permanent. But right now, in 2026, Albania offers European coastline, a growing expat scene, and a monthly budget that would genuinely shock most Americans. The people who get there first are the ones who will talk about it for the rest of their lives. Not the state, the country. Sitting at the crossroads of Europe and Asia, bordered by Russia to the north, Turkey and Armenia to the south, the Black Sea to the west, Georgia is one of the most quietly extraordinary countries on earth, and it has one of the most retiree-friendly entry policies of anywhere on this list. Start with this. American citizens can live in Georgia visa-free for up to 1 year. No paperwork, no income requirement, no application. Just land and stay. After that year, you apply for a residence permit, a process that requires demonstrable income, but the threshold is low, and the process is well documented by an established expat community in Tbilisi, the capital. Tbilisi itself is one of those cities that immediately makes you question every assumption you had about where interesting, livable places are supposed to be. Ancient churches built into cliffsides, a sulfurous bath district that's been operating for centuries, rooftop bars overlooking a river gorge, and a food scene, wine in particular, that has the oldest winemaking tradition on Earth. Georgia has been making wine for over 8,000 years. This is not a travel brochure exaggeration. That's archaeology. English is the primary foreign language taught in Georgian schools, and in Tbilisi you'll find it widely. The expat community, which has grown enormously in recent years, has produced extensive resources, Facebook groups, and community networks to help newcomers navigate everything from finding an apartment to registering with the government. Cost of living. A furnished one-bedroom in a good Tbilisi neighborhood runs $300 to $500, weekly groceries $30 to $45, a restaurant meal with wine, Georgian wine, world-class, not imported, costs $6 to $10. Total monthly budget for a comfortable single retiree, $900 to $1,200. Healthcare has limitations outside of Tbilisi. In the capital, private hospitals offer acceptable care with English-speaking staff at very low cost. A consultation runs $15 to $30. International insurance is essential and affordable. The catches. Georgia's proximity to Russia is a real geopolitical consideration. The situation in the breakaway regions of South Ossetia and Abkhazia remains unresolved. The political environment has been turbulent in recent years, with significant protests over the government's direction. Tbilisi traffic is chaotic. And while English is widespread among expats and younger Georgians, older populations may require a translator. But the one-year visa-free entry alone makes Georgia worth serious investigation. No country on this list gives you more time to try before you commit. Yes, that Medellín, the one you're already thinking about. And yes, the reputation, the history, the Netflix series. We're going to address all of it, because not addressing it would be dishonest. But we'd also be doing you a disservice if we let that reputation be the last word. Medellín, Colombia's second largest city, sits at 5,000 feet elevation in the Andes, which gives it something no Caribbean beach town can offer: a climate of near perpetual spring. Between 65 and 80 degrees Fahrenheit virtually every day of the year. No AC required, no heavy winter clothing, just open windows and flower-filled streets year-round. They call it the City of Eternal Spring, and the name holds up completely. The transformation Medellín has undergone since the 1990s is one of the most documented urban turnarounds in the world. Cable cars connecting low-income hillside neighborhoods to the city center, world-class public libraries built in historically marginalized communities, a metro system that works, internationally recognized urban design awards. The city the world used to associate with one thing now attracts digital nomads, retirees, and expats from dozens of countries who come to see it and stay. Spanish is the language of Colombia, and Medellín's English-speaking infrastructure is concentrated in expat neighborhoods like El Poblado and Laureles. Restaurants, co-working spaces, medical offices, and social groups, all operating in English. Learning basic Spanish makes your life dramatically better here, and immersion accelerates it fast. Colombia offers the visa migrant pensionado, specifically designed for retirees, requiring a minimum monthly income of just $750. That's 3 times Colombia's minimum wage. Your Social Security check alone may cover it. The visa grants legal residency and, after 5 years, a path to permanent residency. Cost of living in Medellín is stunning. A furnished one-bedroom apartment in Laureles or El Poblado runs $400 to $700. Weekly groceries, $35 to $50. A restaurant meal at a proper sit-down place, $5 to $10. Total monthly budget for a single retiree living comfortably, $1,000 to $1,400, including a gym membership, regular restaurant meals, and Spanish classes. Healthcare is where Colombia quietly stuns people. The WHO has consistently ranked Colombia's healthcare system in the top 25 globally, ahead of most people expect, and far ahead of what you'd imagine for the price. Private clinics in Medellín have international accreditation, English-speaking staff, and costs that are 60 to 80% lower than the United States. A specialist consultation runs $30 to $60. Surgery that would cost $40,000 in the US costs $5,000 to $8,000 here, and the outcomes data holds up. The catches. Petty crime is real in Medellín. Phones get snatched. Tourists in the wrong neighborhoods at the wrong hour become targets. Basic urban awareness: don't flash expensive jewelry, don't stare at your phone walking down the street, stick to well-lit areas at night, mitigates the vast majority of risk. The more serious crime is concentrated in specific zones that expats learn to avoid. But dismissing the issue would be wrong. Research neighborhoods carefully before committing to a location. Second, altitude. 5,000 feet affects some people significantly in the first weeks, particularly those with cardiovascular or respiratory conditions. It normalizes for most, but check with your doctor first. Third, bureaucracy. Colombian government offices are famously slow. Budget weeks, not days, for paperwork. A local immigration lawyer is worth every peso. Fourth, the political environment has been shifting, and government policies toward foreign residents, tax treatment, visa requirements, bear watching year to year. But $750 a month in required income, spring weather, every day, top 25 global healthcare. That combination is nearly impossible to beat. Wait, Portugal? Everyone knows about Portugal. And you're right, they do. Lisbon and the Algarve have been overrun with expats for the last 5 years, and prices have followed. The Portugal of 2019 that everyone talks about is not the Portugal of 2026 in those tourist corridors. But Portugal is a country, not just a coastline. And the interior, the Alentejo region, the Douro Valley, the ancient walled city of Évora, the Silver Coast north of Lisbon, is a completely different financial reality. We include Portugal because of one specific program that remains, even after modifications, one of the most genuinely useful retirement instruments in the world, the D7 Passive Income Visa. The D7 requires a minimum monthly income of 820 euros, roughly $900, from passive sources, a pension, social security, rental income, dividends from savings. With $50,000 invested at 4% to 5%, that's roughly $167 to $208 per month from your savings alone. Pair that with even a partial social security payment, and you will meet this threshold. The D7 grants legal residency in a European Union country, with access to Portugal's national healthcare system and the ability to travel freely within the Schengen area. Interior Portugal, Évora, Elvas, Porto Alegre, small hilltop towns throughout the Alentejo, is where the country's soul lives and where the old pricing still applies. A furnished one-bedroom in Évora runs $400 to $600. Weekly groceries, $45 to $60. A meal with local wine in a proper Portuguese restaurant, $10 to $15. Total monthly budget in the interior, $1,100 to $1,500. English is widely spoken across Portugal, particularly among anyone who's gone through the education system in the last 30 years. Portugal has one of the highest English proficiency rates in Southern Europe. Healthcare under the national system is available to legal residents, with quality that varies by region but is structurally solid. Private supplemental insurance costs $80 to $150 a month and gets you faster access and English-speaking specialists. The catches. The D7 visa requires you to spend most of the year in Portugal to maintain residency. You can't just use it as a legal address while living elsewhere. Bureaucracy, at every level, is a test of patience. Processes that should take weeks take months. The NHR tax regime that once made Portugal extraordinarily attractive for foreign retirees has been significantly modified. Verify current tax treatment with an accountant who specializes in Portuguese expat taxation before making any decisions based on old information. And the interior, while beautiful, is rural. If you need constant access to international level medical care or a large expat social scene, the small towns will feel isolating. But EU residency, D7 income requirement achievable on a modest fixed income, European quality of life, historic towns that most tourists fly over to get to Lisbon. Portugal's interior is the most underpriced European retirement hiding in plain sight. The largest organized community of American retirees outside of the United States is not in Europe, it's not in Southeast Asia, it's on the shores of Lake Chapala in the Mexican state of Jalisco, about 45 minutes south of Guadalajara, and it's been there for decades. This isn't a new discovery, it's a validated, established, multi-generational expat destination that keeps drawing new retirees for one simple reason: it works. The infrastructure built around foreign retirees in Ajijic is so complete that some new arrivals spend months before they feel any pressure to speak Spanish. English-language newspapers, English-speaking doctors who trained in the US and Canada, English-run real estate agencies, imported American goods, organizations for virtually every interest, bridge clubs, art groups, hiking societies, theater companies. The climate at 5,000 feet elevation mirrors Medellin's eternal spring, with average temperatures between 60 and 80 degrees year-round and almost zero humidity compared to coastal Mexico. Many retirees report sleeping under a light blanket every night of the year. Mexico's retirement visa, the residency temporal, requires a minimum monthly income of $1,620 or savings of approximately $27,000. With $50,000 in the bank and any income at all, you meet this threshold comfortably. After 4 years, you can apply for permanent residency, which has no income requirement at all. Cost of living: a furnished one-bedroom in Ajijic or Lakeside Chapala runs $400 to $700. Weekly groceries $40 to $60. A meal at one of the many excellent local restaurants $6 to $12. Full monthly budget for a comfortable single retiree $1,000 to $1,400. Healthcare is where the Lake Chapala area earns its reputation. A dense network of English-speaking doctors, many US trained, operates in the area. Consultations run $30 to $50. Guadalajara, 45 minutes away, has world-class hospitals with international accreditation. Medical tourism is so well established here that Americans fly in specifically for procedures, then fly home. If you're living here, those hospitals are your local option. The catch is, Mexico's security situation is real and cannot be dismissed. Violence is geographically concentrated. Certain states and certain corridors carry genuine risk. Jalisco, where Chapala is located, is not immune, and organized crime operates throughout the country. The Lake Chapala area has a strong track record of safety for the established expat community, but careless behavior, wrong place, wrong time situations, and naive trust are risk factors anywhere in Mexico. Situational awareness is not optional. Second, the US dollar has made expat areas measurably more expensive in recent years. The ground floor pricing of a decade ago is gone in the most popular zones. Third, driving in Mexico requires adjustment. Road rules are interpreted creatively and rural roads demand respect. But for proximity to the US, you can fly home for under $200. Established expat infrastructure, reliable healthcare, and a cost structure that works on $50,000 in savings and a modest income, nowhere on this list is more immediately livable for the average American retiree. This is the soft landing. This one requires a clear-eyed look at both the opportunity and the reality, because they pull in opposite directions harder than almost anywhere else on this list. Granada, Nicaragua, is a colonial city on the western shore of Lake Nicaragua, one of the largest freshwater lakes in the Americas. Surrounded by volcanoes, painted in the cobalt blues and ochre yellows of colonial architecture, and operating at a cost of living that is almost absurd by any American standard. We're talking about a complete, comfortable retirement life for $700 to $900 a month. A furnished one-bedroom in Granada's Colonial Center runs $200 to $350. Weekly groceries, $25 to $35. A meal at a decent local restaurant, $3 to $6. Nicaragua is among the 3 cheapest countries in the entire Western Hemisphere for cost of living, and Granada specifically has a long-established expat community, mostly Americans and Canadians, with the infrastructure that comes with it. Nicaragua's Law 694, the Retired Persons Incentives Law, is one of the most generous retirement incentive programs in the Americas. It requires just $600 a month in pension or retirement income. Social Security alone often satisfies this, and in return provides permanent residency, exemption from import duties on household goods, tax exemptions, and discounts on a range of services. $600, that's the income bar. English is widely spoken in the expat-heavy neighborhoods of Granada, and the community is organized, welcoming, and deeply experienced in helping new arrivals navigate the transition. Now the catch, and this is a serious one, Nicaragua's political situation is genuinely difficult. President Daniel Ortega has governed with increasing authoritarianism since 2007, and the political crackdown following the 2018 protests resulted in widespread human rights violations. The U.S. State Department currently maintains a Level 3 Reconsider Travel advisory for Nicaragua, citing concerns about arbitrary enforcement of laws, detention of U.S. citizens, and restrictions on civil liberties. This does not mean every American in Nicaragua is in immediate danger. Thousands of expats continue to live there and report generally peaceful daily lives in Granada. But it means the legal environment is unpredictable in ways that other countries on this list are not. You cannot count on rule of law consistency. A dispute with a landlord, a business interaction gone wrong, or being in the vicinity of politically sensitive activity could escalate in ways that have no reliable legal remedy. That is a real risk, and it deserves serious weight in your decision. Nicaragua, at $700 a month with a $600 income requirement, is a financial miracle for the right person. The right person goes in with eyes fully open. You didn't see that coming. Nobody does. And that's precisely the point. Paraguay. Landlocked country in the heart of South America, bordered by Brazil, Argentina, and Bolivia. No coastline, no famous landmarks, no Netflix series. Almost no Americans have ever thought about retiring here, which is the entire reason the opportunity still exists at the scale it does in 2026. Here's what Paraguay has that nothing else on this list can match: a retirement residency program with no minimum income requirement at all, zero. The Jubilado Visa, Paraguay's official retirement visa, requires proof that you are retired, proof that you have some form of income, and a background check. No minimum monthly income threshold, no minimum savings amount in dollar terms. In practice, applicants show income of $500 to $1,000 per month and are approved consistently. The processing time is 30 to 60 days. The fee is minimal. This is the only country on this list where $50,000 in savings paired with a social security check of any size, even a small one, is genuinely sufficient to obtain legal retirement residency and live comfortably. Now, what does comfortably look like? Asunción, the capital, is a sprawling, flat city, easier to navigate than Medellín or Tbilisi, with a real international community, good private hospitals, modern shopping centers, and a surprising number of excellent restaurants. It is not a glamorous city. It is not going to make your Instagram feed sing, but it is functional, affordable, and safe by South American standards. A furnished one-bedroom apartment in a safe Asunción neighborhood runs $250 to $400. Weekly groceries $25 to $40. A full sit-down meal $4 to $7. Total monthly budget for a single retiree living well $700 to $1,000. Paraguay has essentially zero income tax on foreign-sourced income. Your Social Security check, your IRA distributions, your dividends from U.S. investments, Paraguay does not tax them at all. The territorial tax system means only income earned within Paraguay is subject to local taxation. For a retiree living on U.S.-sourced retirement income, this is a legitimate, legal, zero-income tax retirement. English is limited outside the expat community, but the expat community in Asunción has been growing steadily, and Spanish is learnable fast in an immersion environment. The country also has a large community of German-speaking Mennonites, a historical quirk of Paraguayan immigration, which gives the country a multilingual texture you wouldn't expect. Healthcare in Asunción is functional at the private clinic level. A consultation costs $15 to $30. For serious procedures, many expats use Argentina or Brazil, both accessible by short flights where standards are higher. International health insurance covering the region costs $100 to $150 a month and covers those regional options. The catch is, Paraguay is not for everyone. The heat and humidity in the summer months are oppressive. 95 degrees Fahrenheit with high humidity is not unusual. The city lacks the cultural richness of Tbilisi or Medellín or Lisbon. Internet infrastructure has improved but is not uniformly reliable. The limited English presence means real social integration requires Spanish. Petty crime requires common-sense urban precautions. And the country's political history includes authoritarian governance, though the current democratic trajectory is stable. But no minimum income requirement, zero income tax on foreign-sourced retirement funds, $700 to $1,000 a month for a real, comfortable life, and $50,000 in savings that doesn't get ground down by your cost of living because your cost of living is structured around what you actually have. That's number one, and it's not close. 8 countries, 8 different answers to the same question. What if I don't have enough to retire in America? Paraguay, no minimum income requirement, zero tax on foreign retirement income, $700 a month total. Nicaragua, law 694, $600 income threshold, colonial beauty at prices that seem like a mistake. Mexico's Lake Chapala, the largest organized American expat community outside the U.S., eternal spring, healthcare built around foreign retirees, Portugal's interior, D7 visa, EU residency achievable on $900 a month, ancient walled towns that most tourists fly over. Colombia's Medellín, WHO top 25 healthcare, $750 monthly income requirement, the city that remade itself completely. Georgia, 1 full year visa-free, wine older than most civilizations, $900 a month total. Albania, Adriatic coastline that the crowds haven't found yet, $800 a month. Europe on a budget that shouldn't be possible. And Bosnia, a city of layered centuries, $700 a month, and a Europe that still has room for someone who arrives early. The math that should change how you think about this. $50,000 saved doesn't last 10 years in the US, on top of a small Social Security check. In most of these countries, it's a meaningful emergency fund for a life that actually fits within your monthly income. The savings stop disappearing, the anxiety stops compounding. None of these places are perfect. Every single one has real trade-offs. Heat, language, bureaucracy, infrastructure, political uncertainty, the distance from your family. Those are real costs, and only you can weigh them against the alternative. Working until you physically can't, spending down savings in a country where the math never works, and never getting the retirement you spent a lifetime earning. The world is wider than you've been told. Not all of it is waiting for you, but more of it is than you think. There's one more piece of this conversation that most retirement channels skip entirely. Some of the countries that looked like the right answer 3 years ago have quietly closed the door. Visa programs canceled, income requirements tripled, foreign retirees caught between shifting political winds. We've already done that research. Which countries are pulling back the welcome mat in 2026 and which ones are still open for exactly the situation you're in? That video is right there on your screen. Because finding the right destination is only half of it. Avoiding the wrong ones is the other half.